Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Chargers Analytics with Arjun. And wow, we got past week one with the W, 1-0 to start the year. I mean, I don't think I don't think I could have been any happier with the way we played. And obviously, there's room for improvement all across the board, but I don't think the box score is indicative of how well the offense played, how good they looked, the play calling, and then the defense, man. Like it wasn't as much, as I honestly expected, especially from like the interior defensive line group. But we'll get more into that later in the video. But great start, 1-0, and like I said before, it only shows we won by 4. But I think some of the advanced stats and metrics shows that we should have had a bigger game in terms of points. I think the number one reason why we only won by 4 was we sucked in the red zone, and I'm not sure if I really want to put that all on like Justin Herbert or the offensive line, or if it's a Joe Lombardi thing. There's no blame to be put on one singular person or unit. It's just that they weren't able to convert in the red zone. So when you have 3 drives that total like 190 something yards, right? They had the 10 play 75-yard drive, they had the 18 play 60 something yard drive, and both of those ended in field goals. And then to start the third quarter, or the second drive in the third quarter, they had another double-digit play drive for 60 yards, where I think that was the Herbert fumble call, which is horrible, by the way. Like, I'm not going to go over that. We've seen enough of that discourse, especially on Twitter. But when you have 190 yards of total offense and only come away with 6 points in 3 drives, that's not a great recipe for success. But I'm here to tell you that the red zone offense is something that is sort of lucky from year to year, from week to week. And they were going against one of the best front sevens, and probably, in my opinion, the best front four in the NFL, maybe outside of the Steelers. So for them to not perform as well in the red zone is something that we shouldn't be too concerned about, because the Redskins are a very good defense. But like I said, an amazing performance. Let's dive into the stats that I have. I have a lot of stuff that we're going to be going through. Like I said, this is the regular season now. It's time for me to step up. It's time for me to show you guys all the advanced metrics, and we finally have a bunch of data to look at. So number one, let's look at how Justin Herbert performed. So we know he threw for over 330 yards, only 1 touchdown. He threw an interception, had a fumble, and the Chargers, per PFF's charting, had 5 drops. I know there were a couple of things going around about 7. There were 5 balls that were catchable that were dropped. So obviously that hurts Herbert's EPA a little bit. And remember, EPA stands for expected points added. And that is one of the ways that I'm going to be evaluating quarterbacks over the course of the season. So, like I said before, Justin Herbert had a really good day, in my opinion. Like, I thought he looked amazing, especially first time in this new offense. Now, as I say that, he shows up, kind of middle of the pack when it comes to EPA per play. So if we go and we just look at, okay, I need to update this again. But when we just look at EPA per play, Herbert shows up 16th. Now, a 0.2 EPA per play is nothing to be like, damn, he sucks. A 0.2 EPA per play is pretty solid for a quarterback. And like, if you look at some of these top quarterbacks, like Jameis, Teddy, Stafford, and all these guys, it is week 1 only, and these numbers will come back down. So Herbert performing at this number isn't a bad thing. But let me show you guys something that I thought was super interesting, and I will explain why this happened later. Okay, so the 2 turnovers that happened, the fumble in the red zone and the interception in the red zone, right? Those 2 plays lost Herbert around 10 expected points added. So, EPA is on a per play basis. So those 2 plays, Herbert averaged around, -5 EPA. So what I did is I went into the play-by-play data and I took those exact plays out. And so Herbert's EPA jumped from 0.2 to 0.397, which is pretty much around 0.4, right? So remember that. Herbert ranked 16th overall when considering his 2 turnovers, but turnovers are sort of lucky. The fumble was BS. We can all agree on that. And the interception was kind of just a miscommunication, sort of a bad throw by Herbert. But so remember, 16th in EPA with the turnovers and around a 0.2. So now let's go back to the other tab. And so if we use that 0.397, Herbert had the 7th best day in the league per EPA without the turnovers. Now, of course, we have to use the turnovers in some form because it is part of the analysis. But like I said, the fumble should not have been called. And the fact that Herbert had the 7th best day per EPA per play without the turnovers against a defense that was projected to be a top 5 defense in the league is amazing. It's amazing. And, you know, I work at PFF, so I'm not gonna, you know, talk bad on them, and I have nothing to talk bad on them anyway. But, you know, I will admit that PFF was at the forefront of, you know, predicting some Herbert regression, and it was fair. I've mentioned this in multiple videos. He's gonna get worse under pressure, and he was not good under pressure. But he wasn't under pressure that much yesterday, or I'm recording on Monday, so I'm going to say yesterday as in Sunday. So he wasn't good under pressure, but he wasn't under pressure as much. Remember, the Chargers overhauled this offensive line for one reason and one reason only: to prevent Justin Herbert from being under pressure more often. And they did. And Rashawn Slater, what a freaking day that guy had. 0 pressures allowed against probably the best defensive line in the league. I mean, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, absolutely shut down. You watch the tape, go on Twitter. If you guys haven't gone on Twitter, just search up Rashawn Slater in the search tab. Jeff Schwartz tweeting about him, Brandon Thorne, Colin Cowherd, Daniel Jeremiah. These big media experts all recognize the type of day that he had. So amazing job by him. The rest of the offensive line played pretty well. Storm Norton, you know, outside of the sack fumble that happened, he had a pretty solid day. Abushi was good. Lindsley and Filer were iffy, but Filer had a pretty good day in the run game per PFF grading. So Herbert, pretty good day per EPA per play. Remember when we factor out the turnovers. Well, you should always use the turnovers in looking at the games, but you know, the fumble was not a good call. The next thing I was super happy about was the early down pass calls. Remember, the Chargers, that first drive that they had was just perfectly executed. It was just marching down the field, early down pass, first down pass, first down pass, first down play action to a pass. I mean, the way that Joe Lombardi called this game, I think me, Tyler, and Steven were talking about it. They called a really, really good game. Like the play calling, the throws that Herbert was able to make because of the calls that Lombardi was giving him, it was very, very impressive to see. And so when we use a 5% to 95% win probability, so this is pretty much excluding that final drive where Washington was kind of out of it. The Chargers had the 9th highest. I'm gonna go to the table setting. The Chargers had the 9th highest pass rate on early downs. Now, this was super interesting, and this was something I saw on Twitter and on Discord a lot, right? The Chargers had, you know, especially Justin Herbert. I'm going to go back to this website, or this tab actually. So if we only look at first and second downs, which are the early downs, right? You know, you'd be surprised that, or you might or might not be surprised that Justin Herbert was actually the worst quarterback per EPA per play on early downs. Now, just keep this in mind. He was the worst, and we go to this graph. You know, the Chargers had one of the worst dropback EPA, so EPA per pass on early downs. But like I said, I'm here to show you guys that this really isn't true, because, like I said, when I factored out the turnovers, which one of them was bad and one of them was just, you know, he kind of led him too far, so it wasn't the greatest throw, but it also wasn't like an egregious mistake. Herbert's EPA was 0.04. So not the greatest, right? Like obviously you want your EPA to be above at least like 0.1, 0.2, but 0.04 is definitely better than a negative EPA, right? So now if we go back to the other tab, and we look at, okay, where does 0.04 rank? He jumps up to pretty much he pretty much jumps up to 17th or 18th, which again, it's not the greatest, but it's not horrible either, right? And the Chargers were going up against a really good defense. And so the fact that Herbert was still performing at somewhat of a good level, a high level, is good to see. And now this is the thing that really interested me. And this was something that every PFF, or not every PFF, some PFF guys, some other analytics guys were like, this is one area where Herbert's going to regress, but he didn't. And this was super interesting to me. So on third downs alone, Herbert was one of the, if not the best quarterback on third downs. He had a 1.13 EPA per play on third downs alone. And I think, I forget who it was. It was on someone on Twitter. It was Robert Mays and Nate Tice, two guys highly respected they do the Athletic Football Show. They were talking about how good Herbert looked on third downs. Like, look at where he is on the graph, top right, exactly where you want it to be. He had the most plays on third down. And that's honestly something where you look at how that happens, and that's because they're playing a really good football, like really good defense. That Washington defense, I'm pretty sure every single starter on defense for them was their projected starter going into the season. So they didn't suffer any like big time injuries on defense. So the Chargers were going up against one of the best defenses, and they were healthy. So the fact that Herbert was in the most third down situations of any quarterback in the league isn't that surprising. But the fact that he was also the best, one of the best quarterbacks on third downs is beautiful. And I'm going to go to this. I looked it up earlier. I'm going to show you guys. So this tweet by Mitchell Schwartz, who, you know, a highly respected guy on Twitter and in the league. So he said his theory on how the NFL sees quarterbacks: your quarterback needs to consistently be able to get you yards on 3rd and 6. And I thought this was super interesting when he posted this. And this was my immediate thought when I saw this and how good Herbert was. Okay, so what that Herbert was so like really good on third downs. And yeah, it's probably unsustainable throughout the course of a season, but you know Herbert's going to get you a bucket. You know Herbert's going to drop, like, you have faith in him to drop a dime on third down. That 3rd and 16 call where he found Keenan on the trips curl route. I mean, the confidence you have to have as a quarterback to make that throw, the confidence you have to have as an offensive coordinator to put the ball in your quarterback's hands on 3rd and 16 inside the 10 and call that route. You have to have the utmost confidence. And that's what Lombardi showed. He trusts Herbert. He trusts what Herbert's going to do. And I mean, that was just a beautiful game by Herbert that I was able to see. All right. So I believe, yeah. So again, this is how they looked on early downs. Again, this number is probably right near the middle or right near the mean. And obviously, if we factor out filter out the turnovers, the stats look more in the Chargers' favor. So that was some of the stuff about Herbert. He looked amazing. Here's the offensive line breakdown for the Chargers and how they looked. You know, right about at the mean when it comes to pass blocking grades for PFF. Rashawn Slater, amazing game. Like I said, 0 pressures. He had the 2nd highest overall PFF grade behind only Penei Sewell, who again, I'm super happy he had a great game at left tackle versus Nick Bosa. He did allow a couple pressures, but his run blocking grade was pretty high, and so I was happy to see that. So the Chargers did really well when it came to run blocking, especially on that offensive line. Matt Filer looked amazing at left guard. And I'm sure that, you know, with, you know, when they don't have to play one of, I don't know why that happened. When they don't have to play one of the best defensive lines in the league, you know, their team offensive line grades will probably be a little bit higher. Just because I'm going to be talking about the Cowboys eventually. Cowboys run blocking grade wasn't the best against the Buccaneers, but you know, the Buccaneers have, again, one of the best front sevens in the league, so blocking them in itself is pretty tough. But they were really good, or pretty solid when it came to pass blocking grades. But as I'll show you later in my semi-Cowboys preview, Dak Prescott did get the ball out very quick. And the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about for the Chargers that, you know, is super important. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. behind. It might be behind my camera, and I can't really move that. But the Chargers, per this graph, had the highest defensive pre-snap open middle of the field rate of any team in week 1. I'm pretty sure the Raiders and the Ravens won't be higher than the Chargers, and I'm making this before the Monday Night Football game. So the whole offseason, I've been preaching about how Brandon Staley wants to run this too high system. He wants to show the middle of the field to be open, and he wants this alignment. If you look at my camera, rather than something like this, where he has one guy where he wants to run the opposite of Gus Bradley, pretty much, and that's exactly what he showed. He had the highest middle of the field open rate of any team in the league in week 1. I thought that was a very welcome sight. And again, I mean, Brandon Staley has shown that he's a man of his word, and he's just an amazing coach. And I thought he really had a good game yesterday. If we go back, let's go back to this. And this was something that I didn't expect to pop off, but Darwin James, highest PFF grade of any, or second highest PFF grade of any safety, only behind Logan Ryan, who's technically like a slot cornerback safety hybrid. So I guess in terms of pure safeties, Darwin had the best PFF grade. He had the highest PFF coverage grade of any safety. I remember predicting that this guy was going to have a monster year back in April and May. And I said, Brandon Staley is the perfect coach for him. He's going to put him in positions to succeed, and Darwin succeeded. It's only one game. We don't know how it's going to play out, but, he looked good. He looked real good. So happy for him. If we quickly jump over to the defensive side of the ball, the Chargers had the 12th best defense per EPA per play allowed. Not amazing. Oh wait, this is actually only looking at their downs. Let me fix that real quick. So so in terms of defense on every down, the Chargers had the 9th best defense per EPA per play. So, not that bad. They weren't really going against that tough of an offense, in my opinion. No Curtis Samuel, and Fitzpatrick got hurt. In terms of stopping the pass, the Chargers ranked 13th. And in terms of stopping the run, the Chargers ranked 8th. Now, I know we were getting gashed in the run game. I will admit the interior defensive line outside of Christian Covington and Justin Jones did not look pretty. But this number, we are definitely only ranked 8th because of that Antonio Gibson fumble, which cost the Washington football team the game. And so big shout out to Kaiser and Asante Samuel. That really turned the game on its heels and pretty much won us that game. So this number, I would estimate we'd probably be down here if it wasn't for that fumble caused by Kaiser. But defense played pretty well. All right, let's jump to the Cowboys. I thought this graph was pretty indicative of what we're going to see this Sunday. Dak Prescott is going to get the ball out very quick, and he's going to be throwing a lot of intermediate throws, a lot of slants, a lot of digs, a lot of curls. Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb both looked pretty solid. Lamb had a couple drops in that Bucs team, but they are going to get the ball out quick because number one, La'el Collins is out, so they don't have a right tackle. Michael Gallup is out, so they don't really have a third receiver. And we don't know what Zach Martin is going to look like because, he's going to be coming off COVID. So his conditioning could be bad, but, he is an all-pro, so I wouldn't expect too much of a drop-off even if he does return, or if he doesn't return, then we'll probably see Connor McGovern or something at right guard. So like I said, Dak Prescott's going to get the ball out very quick, and he's going to throw the ball short of the yards of the stick, or he's going to have a relatively low average depth of target. I put this graph together after the Dallas Bucs game. You can see Kellen Moore is a very good offensive coordinator, in my opinion. And I think if Dallas has a top 5 offense, he could easily see some head coaching buzz. But he's going to mix up his play calls. He's not just going to throw. And if we go back to the other graph, like I said, he had around a 7 average depth of target, but it wasn't just, I should take back what I said about only throwing slants and curls. Kellen Moore did a good job of mixing everything up. So he called slants and curls for Gallup, for CD and for Amari at points in the game, but he also knew when to take his shots, taking those deep corner shots to Amari, or throwing a fade route over cover 2. That was the first play of the game, right? Dak throwing to the left hash. It was that about 23, 24 yard completion to Amari. So that's what he's going to be calling, and he's going to mix in a bunch of play action tight end screens. I hope if any of the Chargers employees are watching this, they ran tight end screens a little bit, so we could expect those to Dalton Schultz, and even just screens to Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. So Dallas is going to be running a good mix of covered of play calls through the air, and they're going to put their receivers in a position to be great. So as a whole, in terms of EPA, Dak had the 15th best EPA. He, like I said, he played pretty well on, for the offensive line he had, and how good the Bucs defense is. But not amazing, I guess, per EPA. The defense really wasn't too impressive. If we look at their EPA per play allowed, they're ranked 16th, which is honestly is better than most people would think. But I think, getting 2 picks on Brady kind of rose that just a little bit, but otherwise, like, they weren't really able to stop Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. And their offense as a whole, to wrap it up, we already talked about their passing offense. Their rushing offense against the Bucs, third worst in week 1. So are they going to run the ball against us? Maybe. And Brandon Staley is going to invite them to run. Remember, if I go back to I'm not going to go back to the middle of the field graph, but the Chargers are going to have the middle of the field wide open, and they're going to play a lot of light boxes, which is a staple of Staley's defense. So they're going to invite the Cowboys to run. It's just, how effective will the run game be for the Cowboys, and, what will they be able to do on top of that? And I'm going to add something that, I think is super important. The Chargers had a 47.4 success rate. So success rate is any play that's defined as having a positive EPA. So this number was 23rd last year. So they had the 23rd highest success rate of any team in the league on offense, and this year it's 12th. And it was against one of the best defenses in the league. So now we're going from one of the best defenses in the league to the Cowboys, who probably have like an average, but probably below average defense. So I'm going to start doing this for every game going forward. My prediction for this game, I'm actually going to go with the Chargers here. I'm going to go 35-33 Chargers. I do believe it'll be a shootout. And I think in the end, it's just going to be Justin Herbert's O-line can protect him more. And, the Cowboys are going to be missing Lyle Collins. So Joey Bosa is going to have a chance to go up against like Ty. I don't know how to say his last name, Ty NC Nexi or something. So it should be a really fun game to watch in SoFi, primetime, national television. Chargers win it. And yeah, that's my prediction. So that's going to wrap it up. This was a very long video. So if you made it to the end, I appreciate it. I really hope you enjoyed me diving into the stats. Make sure to leave a like. And with that, as always, bolts up.